Hi everyone, good morning. Still good morning for me. I did the, what is that called? Red eye? That's why my eyes is red. Tishamin. Mira, Neptali yo na ni karashina kishiyo no. Mi estado yo shimentona kailo kwenta mi na yumyo na yundoba mi na yusabi na jivi na kami tu sabi. I really want to thank Naftali and his team for inviting me and come to share a little bit about our communities, the people of the rain, as we call ourselves, people who speak the language of the rain, the Mixtecos. To be honest with you, I'm trying to be very macho as Mexicano, but I was crying when our sister was sharing about indigenous native people in North America, just because of this part of identity. I think that a lot of us we still are going through that process. For some of us that we are going back and questioning all this, these questions like where I'm coming from, why do I speak this language? Like in my case, why my grandma died. My grandma died 2 years ago, and she died hating herself. She hated her language, Mixteco. She blamed it that was her. I don't know how to say it, but her biggest barrier of knowing the world that she was going through. Like, she was a migrant worker and her entire life in Mexico. She first went to Tapachula, Chiapas for the cotton work. Then later she went to Veracruz for the sugar cane. And as our former speaker was sharing about the sugar cane, as one of the food that was brought from the African people in Mexico, we have a large communities of African communities, black communities, not only in Oaxaca, but other states such as in Veracruz. So my grandma used to go in Veracruz for the sugar cane. That makes sense for me when I was listening to his presentation about the food that is being brought from different communities. Then later she moved to up north, where is Culiacan, Sinaloa, for the tomato harvest, tomato industry. At that time, I think it was I will say it was around 60s or 70s. At that time, she brought my mom with her in Culiacan, Sinaloa for the tomato harvesting. And she went back and forth. That was what was her life, coming to Culiacan, going back to Oaxaca, be living in her rural small town for 1-2 months. That really was a challenge for not only for her but for my mom, my uncles, my aunt, because almost all of them they didn't have the opportunity to go to school. So a lot of them they were not able to learn Spanish, how to read and write, and that's the case of my mom. She learned how to read and write Spanish 3 years ago here in the United States. And my mom was also another person who followed my grandma's kind of same feeling of hating or not wanting us to speak our language, Mixteco. In my case, we are 7 brothers. I'm the only one who is working on bringing the language back to just to myself. But my brothers, they understand. The oldest one, he speaks it as well. But everyone else, they lost the language. And I think that is where we're going, where our culture is going. It's gonna get lost. All this wisdom, all this knowledge that we bring as a native, as a indigenous people, is gonna get lost. I have daughter with me here today, and she doesn't know she doesn't know a word in Mixteco. Her mom doesn't speak Mixteco. She is from the Mixteco community, but she doesn't speak Mixteco as well, so we didn't communicate in Mixteco at home. So she lost it. And I'm wondering myself if she even considered herself as a Mixteca girl, and what will be her life as a person of color in this country, as a Latina, as a Mexicana, as a Oaxaqueña, or as a Mixteca herself. I don't want her to be lost, and that's part of why I got so emotional with a former speaker. But today I want to take a little bit of the time of my presentation to share about our communities in this country. I think it's been a history about immigrants, about communities of people from the minorities, groups, as they call us, coming to the agriculture industry in this country. So I did a little bit of research. I honestly didn't go to school in the United States, so I'm just doing my best to learn about this country and learn about the history as I'm doing the work with the organization, which is Mixteco Indigena Community Organizing Project. I'm also taking the opportunity to learn about why we're here, why we came into agriculture. Very similar, because that's what we do. That is part of our lives. That's how we grew up. I grew up with my mom, just as a very, very normal life, and our small communities, waking up in the morning, going in the fields, growing up our food, such as corn, beans, squashes, or going harvest these wild food that we know in the fields, that it grow by itself. Some of them is like the pápalo, the picha, cilantro obviously is not from the the communities, but all these herbs that our people knows. I don't know, the agave. The agave sometimes grows something like the flower of the agave. We eat those flowers. It's part of our diet. But as part of the colonization, as part of this process of the invasion, we learn how to hate even our own diet, our own food. And we not almost, but still today, we believe that only poor people eat those food. People who does not have money eats those herbs from the fields. So who wants to be poor? Who wants to be targeted as a poor person, as a indigenous person, if there's so much discrimination in our lives? My grandparents, they came with the bracero programs in the United States. They were, as they call it themselves, they were lucky to be in the United States with the bracero program temporarily, and they went back. My grandma used to tell me this story about how tough was the process of inspection on the border. They will make my grandparents to be naked, and they will inspect every single part of their bodies, even in their private parts. And then they will pull these, I don't know what kind of chemicals they will pull on them, on their bodies, so they will not bring diseases on this country. That for getting some money to be able to sustain their families back in Oaxaca. Later, my dad decided to come here with no papers, undocumented, and still, my grandparents, my dad, and agriculture right now in California is very, I don't know if I want to say, but it's very famous for the berry industries. So in the 80s and the 90s, the berry industries become very popular industry in the Mixteco communities. And as a few of these towns that were following the berries industry in California, before the 90s, there was a first wave of indigenous people coming, Mixtecos. Later, after the 90s, there was a second larger wave of indigenous people following the first wave, because they saw the impact, economically speaking, of those people that came in the first time, sending money back to Oaxaca and being able to get the basic kind of support from their families to send their children to school or to be able to put food on their tables for their families. Um, so that's just a little bit about why we're here in California. In California, so I would say it's at least 160 or 170,000 of indigenous farm workers working in the fields. And still nowadays, with the current situations, farmers are having difficult time to recruit workers. So I will stop a little bit in terms with the history there and what do I know about the history. I will speak a little bit about MICOP. MICOP has been around in Oxnard, Ventura County for the last 15 years. We are a nonprofit organization. It was founded by a practitioner nurse because she saw that many of her patients, they were having challenges to communicate not only in English but also in Spanish. Most of us we speak only our native language and are still having challenges to serve or to get the resources. So that's how she started with MICA. We have multiple programs from interpreters to leadership development to youth group to women's program, men programs, health related, mental health. So I'm not gonna I don't want to use all my time to describe the different programs, but I will describe some basic ones of what we're doing in terms to push for some initiatives that were we're creating changes to improve our communities and to claim the presence of the indigenous people, at least in our regions. I came in 2003 and as a farm worker in the strawberry industry, first thing I realized there was a discrimination against indigenous people. Was these racial situations or conditions that happens in our own country among mestizos and indigenous, how mestizos are seeing the indigenous people. They're being targeting or stereotyping us as ignorant people, as not sophisticated, not well educated, as not civilized people. They don't know how to behave in public because they're wild, they're coming from small towns. And if you go to the city, you don't know how to behave because these are social norms that society wants you or expect you to have, from the dominant culture. And we as indigenous people have our own way to behave, traditions, language, and we're coming from rural communities. So that kind of stereotypes, prejudice, racism that is prevalent in Mexico, I didn't realize that was following us when we got here in this country, in the fields. So as a Mixteco myself, as a Oaxaqueño myself, as a person who was rejecting his culture and rejecting to speak his language when I was in the fields, and I heard this word Oaxaquita, like little Oaxacan in the fields, from mestizo Spanish speaker people to the indigenous people, and seeing my people from my communities just looking down, not saying anything, being afraid to stand up for themselves, or even when they want to stand up for themselves, they couldn't articulate words in Spanish. That makes me so angry, it makes me so sad, and it motivates me to start looking for ways how to contribute back to my communities. I learned about MICOP, and I think by sharing this angriness and this sadness to then the director, years after or later, we developed this campaign that was called No Me Llames Oaxaquita. As we were pushing for resolutions to local schools, districts, where they prohibit the use of this word in the schools. Because probably, adults, they were saying, get over it, right? Often things that we hear after you are being marginalized, or you're being, put down, and what it comes after is, get over it. Just go to school, get better, try to assimilate this culture, forget about what other people are telling you. that's what the message is to us as a minorities, not only as a black communities, indigenous people, other small black communities, but what we realize that when it's a huge impact in the life of the children when it comes to like this kind of bullying. So we decided to stop that by creating this campaign in the schools. Also, you know, that another initiative that we did recently was California passed this legislation in terms with driver license for all. You know, there's a lot of things that it doesn't make sense right now in this country, such as or negative misunderstanding things such as undocumented people don't pay taxes. Guess what? The IRS are very smart, as you already know. They create a system and they make sure that undocumented people can get that number that's called IT number. You cannot have a good social security number, but yes, you can get an IT number. And at the end of the year, by January or February or March and April, they expect you to get your IT number, go with a tax preparer, and pay your taxes. Yes, we do pay taxes. But meanwhile, people were afraid to drive to work because of not having driver license. By not having driver licenses, they can stop us by not doing a good stop. There were people driving with not knowing the law of driving, not because we don't want, it's because we didn't have the opportunity to. But the legislation passed, I think it was in 2010. But again, one of the excluded communities was Mixtecos and other indigenous speaking individuals who, even when they wanted to present the test, they couldn't because they don't speak Spanish or English or other languages. But we advocate for that, and we made the DMV from the state of California to have the Mixteco language test available for our communities. And they did, and they listened to us. So, as moving forward with this kind of a not angriness, but desire of making change for our communities. I don't know if Margaret Sawyers is here, but she says she's gonna come here. Margaret Sawyer moved recently, like 2 years ago. She moved to this side, but she came to Ventura County and she was an executive director with MICOP. And at that time, she helped us to apply for the FCCC, Federal Communication Commission. And in 2013, we got the license to build our antenna for our community radio station. And it wasn't until this March 1st that we launched the community radio station, Radio Indigena 94.1. Probably you're not gonna be able to listen to the radio, but you still can go and listen to us via Facebook. You have smartphones, Android, iOS, we have applications. You can download it to your cell phones. You can go to our website or listen to our radio. You can just call the number 605-475-0090. You can listen on Radio Indigena to that. And that's a Mixteco language there. But just last year, we were actively advocating for overtime. And I wrote it somewhere, but it's hard, and just because I have time pressure. I think it was close to 80 years that farm workers were excluded for getting paid overtime after 8 hours of work a day. I don't know you were aware of that, but it's not only state level, but it was national level. So we advocated in California, and last year they made it happen. They approved that starting in 2019 and 2020, from 19 to 22, depends on the size of the farms. If it's small, they're gonna like go slowly, but if they are bigger, they're gonna start paying overtime to farm worker after 8 hours of work a day, not after 10. We were excluded from the Fair Labor Standard Act, enacted in 1938. So farm workers can work 60 hours per week and they didn't get paid. Farm workers could work And there's a lot of injustice. There's a lot of problems in the fields. There are good and bad, but a lot of farms take advantage of farm workers. For example, the law says, even with the current law, it says a farm worker should get paid overtime after 10 hours of work in a day, or after 60 hours in a week. So if you are a company, a farm, and you make me as a farm worker to work 12 hours in a day, and the next day you're gonna make me work only 8 hours, that's equal 20. So as a farmer, you're gonna tell me, no, you have to work after, whatever hours in a week. And because there's a lot of challenges for farm workers, when you get to a different country and you have your fear, there's a lot of fear, intimidations, it's pretty difficult for a worker to advocate for him or herself. There's a lot of retaliations, issues happening in the fields as well. So often, farm workers will not stand for their rights, or they will not know or will not understand their own labor rights that is there for them. And even if they understand it, they will not stand. There's a lot of challenges, not only language challenges, but also other intimidations, and this hierarchy that I was describing with you still influence on the fields. Locally, at the Ventura County, we're pushing for farm worker bills of rights. We're asking to reinforce the current labor laws that exist in the farms: sick days, pregnancy, toilet, water, wage theft. And we're asking for a person, and I'm not gonna pronounce it because I can't pronounce that. So we're advocating for that person to be there, because we have a workshop with the board of supervisors, and all these agencies, called OSHA, all these representatives came, the labor commissioners that were there, and it's like, we're here. If a farm worker have any issue, they can go to our website. They can file a claim in our website that is in Spanish. But guess what? At least 50 or 60% of farm workers in the agriculture industry in California is represented by indigenous communities. What does that say? That a lot of the workers are limited in Spanish. And the law says that a farm worker needs to be informed of the labor rights and their language. It's an obligation for the employer. It's not an option. And even what is like basic things, laws that are providing clean toilet for the farm workers, it's still, I know it's a challenge, and it's expensive. I'm not gonna fight that, but you have to provide clean toilet for your workers. It's not about the health safety for the workers, it's a public safety for everyone. Imagine a farm worker picking up your fruit by not washing their hands after they're using the toilet, or the toilet being dirty. Pregnancy. I'm not gonna repeat what is being said already about diet. Coke is killing us. McDonald's killing us. Pesticides is killing us too. Not only today in the when I went after the airplane and got the rental car, I went on Facebook. I love Facebook. I don't know why. But there was an article, locally article, that says that 12 farm workers were reported sick, probably because of the exposure of pesticides. That happens probably this week or yesterday in Bakersfield area. But even more, the problem, more serious the problem is with a pregnancy, when the woman is pregnant. Imagine these women being exposed during this, like the critical phase of the pregnancy, 3 months. If the female will say, like, I want to take a 3 months period, off of the work because I just realized I'm pregnant, nobody will guarantee her job when she wants to come back. There is not such a law. The law says that you can get these benefits, I don't know what, live after 6 or 7, on your 6 or 7 month of pregnancy. But guess what? Probably the baby's already having some, defects, health issues. And I'm not lying. There is the evidence. If we compare the number of children having some challenges, some health issues, here in this country compared to our own communities there is way so different. And still there's a lot of studies happening right now to be able to prove that. 3 years ago, we're asking doctors, we're asking some researchers, could you please make a public statement that this is affecting pregnancy? They don't want to stand because they can't, they don't have like study or they don't have the science. I don't know what the rollo is, you know, the whatever, that they need to prove it. But here are the children that are suffering. But we're asking the county to do something and probably ask the farmers to allow the women to take 3 months off during those critical months for the baby or the fetus to develop well. Wage theft, don't let me start. Again, it's not like there's all bad farmers. That's not my point. But there's bad practices that need to change in the agriculture industry. I think I described a lot of this, farm workers. And one of the things that really I cannot understand still, probably yes, I understand, but it's hard to accept it. Farm workers who are harvesting the food, they don't have access to healthy food. I don't know if that makes sense. Doesn't make sense, right? I've been seeing, because in our organization we have monthly meetings, every month we have 200, 300 individuals coming for a bag of food that's been provided through food bank. I have a mixed feeling with that. The one positive feeling I have with that is, yes, we're giving something to our people because they are not making enough money to be able to afford food. The other feeling that I have is like, why? If they're harvesting the food, they should have food on their tables. But it's not. We still this unjust, this oppression that exists in the system, contaminated drinking water, again, there's challenges, there are issues there. Infrastructure, also, housing is a big challenge. There's a good initiative in Ventura County with affordable housing for farm workers. But because of this affordable housing for farm workers is being sponsored for federal money, guess what? Farm workers who have no good social security number, they cannot apply for those affordable housing for farm workers. Because it's being sponsored, it's being granted by federal money. And they're required by law to have a good social security number. It's a lot of stress, not only a physical demanding job, a lot of stress. Childcare, they have no high quality childcare. Children end up being with a neighbor person, and it's okay, we're family, we support each other. But then we have challenges with education. Everything, I feel that everything affects, living in the poverty situations, you have everything against you. You have no healthy food, you have challenges to have access to health, you have challenges to have a high quality services of childcare for your children, The education system are having challenges to serve indigenous students. And they're blaming on the parents, like why parents, they don't like to come to meetings. They don't want to advocate for their children. I don't know if we have been putting our feet in the shoes of the farm worker. They have to stand up at 4 or 5 in the morning to get ready to go in the fields, to be at the field 6:30 in the morning, get out at 3 p.m. afternoon, come back, pick up the children. It's already 5 p.m. because they're driving. If they're lucky, if they're women, most of the women that don't drive, they need to get a ride, or I don't know how they do. They ended up at home at 6. They need to cook dinner. What time is gonna be for going for a meeting in the schools? And the school meetings usually is from 6 to 8. And it's a lot. Ya esa frase famosa, aquí estamos y no nos vamos. here we are, and we're not gonna leave. I think we need to fight, and we need to keep this movement forward, and we're gonna be advocating for our own rights. They like it or not, we're here to stay. Organizing solidarity, yes, it's something that we don't know. We don't have to go to school to learn it. Something that we know how to do it. Systematic change, that's what we're asking. Daily farming policy practices, California farm market, this is just what I described with you. And I don't know if we have time for Q&As, but probably not. But thank you so very much for giving me the opportunity to share with you.